Hey guys, Robot Unicorn here, and today we're going to be talking about the PS4 and the Xbox One and how they compare, because recently the Xbox One just had that big presentation where they showed off some of the key features, and the PS4 has been slowly showing off some of their features as well. This is more of a hardware look at the items, not really as much as the features they have on their controllers, because that's all personal preference. But once we look at the hardware and actually how they perform in the games that we know and love, that will really show the difference. So the first piece of hardware that any computer system has is the CPU. Now, the Xbox One CPU and the PS4 CPU are the same. They're both 8-core AMD Jaguar CPUs, but the difference is the PS4 has a 2.0 gigahertz and the Xbox One has 1.6. Now, that difference is not that large, but it is significant in a way. If they had the same everything else, the PS4 would be ahead. If they were identical but just the different CPUs, obviously the PS4 would be ahead by about 20%, 10% better. But then we look into the RAM of the systems. So the Xbox has 8 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM, and the PS4 has 8 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM. Now, if you are not a computer whiz or pay attention to computers a lot or know about them, this means nothing to you. So there are different types of RAM. RAM is the memory that the CPU and the graphics card and the system needs. It's really quick. It's not like you're storing games on it, but it's just what the CPU and GPU or graphics card need in order to think and use stuff. So it's temporary storage. So DDR3 is not as fast as DDR5. It is slower, but it has low lag latency. So right when something wants it, it can deliver it, but it can't deliver too much of the information at a time because it's just not fast enough. It doesn't have enough bandwidth. With the PS4 has 8 gigabytes of DDR5, which is like a really big tunnel that takes a while to turn on, but once it gets going, it flows a lot of information. So it doesn't deliver it right away, but it does give you a lot of information. Now, DDR3 is very good for CPU, which we talked about in the beginning. By the way, the CPU is what does the thinking and mathematical calculations of any computer. So it's going to be the thing processing the numbers and thinking of everything that needs to be done in the system, all the hardcore math. So the DDR3 RAM will be able to store some of the numbers and some of the information and give it to the CPU right away. So it's going to want to be thinking of zeros and ones, and it's going to give it to it right away. Unlike the DDR5, which is very, very good for graphics cards, because the DDR5 can be used to store the information about pixels in the video. So it'll be able to send out all that information at once very quickly, which will maybe make the PS4 better at graphics. We're not really sure yet. It might not be significant. We'll get that into the future. Also, you may have noticed the 32 megabytes of ESRAM that the Xbox One has. ESRAM is similar to DDR5 RAM, and basically this is Xbox and Microsoft's way of getting some of the rumors out that their RAM is worse by adding in that. So what it does is it's very quick RAM, very higher bandwidth than DDR3, and it's very snappy. So it's sort of somewhat makes up for the DDR5 lackingness of the Xbox One, if that's a word. But so now that we discussed RAM, we're going to get into the graphics cards. And these graphics cards are what makes the images that you know and love to play on your Xbox and PS4 right now. So the Xbox One is going to use an APU just like the PS4. What that means is you're not going to see this picture. The picture right now is a PC graphics card, and the PC graphics card is a standalone thing, and it has its own circuit board and everything, but both consoles are probably going to use the APU. The PS4 already said it is, but the Xbox One most likely will. So instead of the card, what you're going to have is all the graphics processing is going to be integrated with the CPU. So the CPU and the APU are going to be combined into the same chip. So you won't see the card, you'll just have the CPU doing also the graphics processing, but it's going to be different. So the CPU in most computers right now is very mathematical heavy, but in the Xbox and the PS4, they combine them to save money and make the size smaller. Now, it has not gave any data. Microsoft has not released any data about the power of their graphics card, Not really sure why. Maybe it's less than the PS4, or maybe they just don't want it to be better right off the bat. I'm not really sure. Maybe they haven't done tests. I don't know. Because right now, both consoles are basically done. They are basically finished. They might add a couple aesthetic changes, but the hardware is basically finished at this point. So then you go into the PS4. It has 1.84 teraflops per second of data and information it can do at once. Now what that means is it is about a $300 PC card equivalent. So what the graphics that the PS4 can do, you can get with about a $300 PC card. So that's about middle of the range, middle high end. But you sort of need that with both consoles. I'm expecting the Xbox One to have just about the same, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. We'll see when the data comes out. But you really want a lot of power and graphically and RAM and CPU, because you don't want it to fall behind, especially since these consoles might have to last us for like 6 years or so. So, the consoles are very different in some ways. The Xbox hasn't really given out too much information, and the PS4 has given out a lot of information. Some people are saying that the Xbox One is worse, that's why they're not giving out their information. It's all speculation right now. But the two consoles do have some similarities. They both have Blu-ray drives. They both have over 500 gigabytes of storage. Now, on the storage, I think it's the Xbox that says they have a 500 gigabyte hard drive. The PS4, they didn't really directly mention the size of their hard drive. It's most likely going to be over 500 or 500 gigabytes, but some people are guessing it could be a terabyte hard drive. Not really 100% sure on what it's going to be, but it's still plenty of storage for anything. I have my computer that I make videos and play games on, and it doesn't even take up 500 gigabytes yet, but in the future it might. But I wouldn't be too worried about that unless you're downloading and installing all your games. Games don't really take up too much on the Xbox, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. They both have built-in Wi-Fi. The Xbox is wireless N, which means all your routers will most likely work, but the PS4 has BG and N, which means it's compatible with a couple different frequencies, but those are older frequencies, so you most likely won't be using that if you want to actually play your games well, because the slower Wi-Fi will not be sufficient in most cases. They both have HDMI in, and both have HDMI out, rather. They both have USB 3.0 ports, and if you're not familiar, the normal thing that you see every now and every day circumstances is USB 2, and USB 3 is 10 times faster than that, so it can transfer data a lot faster, but it's still compatible with USB 2, so if you have like your phone charger, you can plug it into a USB 3.0 port and it'd be fine. Now, both controllers are a little bit different. The PS4 does have the little screen on the front, and the Xbox still has their controllers, but their controllers are very similar to the old ones, so if you're used to those, it's not going to be any major differences. So now we go into the advantages and the final conclusion. Which one is better? Which one should you buy this Christmas or whenever you want to get your console? So we're looking at the Xbox One advantage, and that is that they're using the Windows kernel. And what that means for you non-technical people out there is basically that the Xbox is run and owned by Microsoft, and they also make Windows, so they're using the same operating system. So if you're a game developer and you're making a game, you're going to make it for Windows and the Xbox because it's easier since it's the same language, and they're going to end up having to port or translate, I guess you could say, for non-technical people, over to the PS4 your games, which means that basically what the Xbox does and how your Xbox, if you have one, reads your games right now, is it takes the disc. Then the disk has information on it. The disk then talks to the operating system and tells it, like, if the disk says 1111, that means for the operating system, send this and that, send A and B over to the graphics card and display it. So the game developers, when they write it, they put 111. And same with the PS4 has a similar thing, but instead of what they do is they basically have on the disk 111, but then there has to be another layer called the I forgot the name of the layer. Abstraction layer. That's it. It has an extra extra layer that basically translates that into the language that the PS4 operating system is using, so it does degrade the quickness, because it's basically like taking a long way on a highway. So you have to look at both circumstances. The PS4 right now has better hardware. It has a faster CPU. Gigahertz wise, it's the same CPU, but it's just faster, as I mentioned before. It has a nice graphics card. The Xbox One might have a similar one, we're not really sure. It has arguably better RAM because it's DDR5, which is better for graphics, and since it's a gaming console, you might want to use that. And the fact that it might have more storage space than the Xbox, and the controller is different with the screen. I'm not really sure how you're going to use that, but that is their advantages. It's all their hardware, it's all their main parts of the computer. With the Xbox, again, is how the games are read, and it makes it more efficient. So who's better? We're not really sure yet, honestly. When you listen to this whole thing, you can clearly see that it's a very close race. The Xbox does have some advantages or disadvantages depending on how you look at them, like their integration with more of a living room environment and not as much as a gaming, which means that they're more focused on getting the center of your living room, the HDMI port to your big TV, with their KINECT and their TV operating system, more oriented operating system, where you have the KINECT like snap features that snap to your table box and other stuff. So the Xbox is really going for more of a all-around console, where the PS4 is more staying to gaming. Not really sure what I'm going to choose, but in the long run, what you guys want to do, and when you're deciding this Christmas, get all your friends together and ask them what they're getting. If they're all getting the Xbox One and the PS4 might be a little bit better graphically, don't get the PS4, because really when you're playing these console games, what the point of a console is so that way you can play with your friends, and if they're on the other console, it's not going to be fun. You're going to end up honestly selling your PS4 or Xbox One, depending on which one the other friends have, and buying what they have, because if people didn't want to play with each other, then there wouldn't be Xbox Live and Friends List, which is a very integral part. So again, just get what your friends are getting and talk to them about this. Maybe show them this video, and I will be doing a follow-up hopefully later when the Xbox has more information out about it. So in the long run, you get to decide. You and your friends pick which one is better, and we just have to wait for more information, because even though that presentation the Xbox did was a long presentation, and they did show a lot of their information, they didn't really get down to the technical details, and that's what I like to see. So again, thanks for watching, guys. This has been Robot Unicorn. Subscribe. This is a really different video than what I normally do. I normally do games, video game tips and tricks, and overall just gaming actually videos. This one is more of a different video, but if you like it, I might do some in the future. Leave a like down below if you want to see more like this. Comment saying whatever you want to say, whether you're going to get the Xbox or PS4 right now. And this has been Robot Unicorn, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.